Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Episode 73 of the 9 to 5 Fitness Podcast. We've got a big one today, an exciting one. Well, it's not we, it's me. Gab's jet setting around America. He's left me for a couple of weeks, but I'm loving the content he's uploading. I don't know how this podcast is going to go. I don't know what's going to happen. I've planned for it. You guys have helped me out. You've sent in some stories. You've sent in some voice memos that I'm going to play so it doesn't feel like I'm just talking to myself the whole time. But firstly, and most importantly, how did I sleep? Well, thank you for asking. How did I sleep? Slept pretty well. Got up at, I think, 5:40 a.m. Went to bed about probably 10 p.m. Really kind of trying to dial in those sleeping and wake up times. I find I'm so much more productive when I go to bed at a reasonable hour and, wake up at ideally early before the sun rises. I'm doing a month of no drinking. That's the plan, at least. I'll do this like a couple of times a year. I kind of always have. I just kind of decide I'm going to not have alcohol for a while and I'm going to do it for a month. And I already feel a lot better, obviously. There's no surprises there, but that's just how it works. So really dialing in the sleep, really dialing in the diet, really dialing in the lack of alcohol. And yeah, going to really dial in this podcast. Before I get started, please rate the show. 5 stars, ideally. If not 5 stars, then just leave it, because we're out here trying to make a living out of this shit, guys. And it's hard work sometimes, but we appreciate all of your support. We really do. Gold Coast. I went away, went to the Gold Coast, went with a couple of mates, a couple of beautiful legends, and it was a lot of fun. I really do like the Gold Coast. I love the heat. I didn't realise how much of an effect kind of the weather has on my mood. I don't think I'd seen proper sun in months living in Melbourne. But you go up to the Gold Coast, got out off the plains, 25 degrees, perfect amount of sun, got the top off, just enjoyed it, lapped it up. I feel like my testosterone went through the roof. My mood went through the roof. I was just feeling unreal. And everyone in the Gold Coast seems to be pretty happy. Like they're a real happy bunch. And I reckon that's got something to do with the sun. So good on you if you live in the Gold Coast. It is a little bit intense sometimes though. We went to the footy, saw Gold Coast versus Collingwood, and shit, man, like some scary people sitting around us, not going to lie. A few kind of face tatted, like teardrop under the eyes kind of set up, which is fine, but like it's pretty intimidating, not going to lie. I have no qualms if you like get those tattoos or whatever, but like I'm not going to lie, I'm pretty intimidated by it. And there's heaps of that around the Gold Coast. Heaps of big roidy boys, face tats, the lot, the full setup. But yeah, Metricon Stadium, that's a different one. It's a bit of a funny stadium, to be honest. We were in kind of in one of the pockets, I think, and or kind of just off the wing. And yeah, it was, I don't know, just like, yeah, very different to the MCG, that is for sure. Right, big show today. Topic 1, I've got gap year. Now, it's pretty relevant at the moment, I think, because my news feed on Instagram is just full of people in Europe, just like living it up, jet setting around. It must be nice. And I thought, geez, I wish I could go to Europe right now. But not only that, I wish I could go back to the gap year I had, which I spent a bit of time in Europe. So for those who don't know, I was 18 on my gap year. So 2017, I finished school in 2016. A very kind of lost and just like lacking confidence young kid, like very standard. And I was coming out of school, out of Wesley College, and great school, but like, geez, I'm not academic. And I was really kind of lost in terms of what I was going to do. I thought like, I just had to go straight to uni, like, because that's what everyone else is doing. You just got to go straight to uni, straight into a degree, and then like straight into into a job, and then have kids, and then work for the rest of my life, and then have fun when I'm 70 and I retire. So mum and dad stepped in, incredibly supportive individuals, and we love them very much. They said, no, you're not going to uni straight away, you prick. Go on a gap year. Go traveling, get out of Australia, do something that shows that the world is bigger than Melbourne. And to this day, it's the best thing I've ever done in my life, by far. So my gap year was a little bit different to maybe some others because I worked on my gap year overseas. I went to the south of France in Antibes, which is near Nice or like Monaco, and I wanted to get work on private yachts as a deckhand. For those who have been binging, reality TV, it's just like Below Deck, just like that show, that kind of job. Except I was 18 and I was like bottom of the barrel, could barely get a job. So I rock up to Antibes in the south of France and I know no one. I'm 18. I don't have much money at all. Luckily, mum and dad were helping me out a little bit and obviously always had that safety net. But on the way over, I missed a flight, and it was probably like 3 a.m. when I missed in Melbourne time when I missed the flight, which was in Germany. And that was stressful, but had to figure that out. First job done, tick it off. I figured out how to, get a new airline or get a new flight. Did that pretty well. Next job was landing and trying to get myself to the accommodation, which mum and dad had helped me book. Geez, another battle in itself, couldn't tell them where it was. I couldn't speak French, but we managed. Another tick, got there. Finally got to my accommodation, settled down, and then I needed to do this course, which is called, I think it's called the STCW, and that course allows you to, it's like your ticket to be able to work on private yachts. So I enrolled in this course and did it and met a whole bunch of like absolute legends who like I still, think about all the time to this day. They really, I think in the short amount of time I knew them, they really shaped me to be like the person I've become today. And so I did this STCW, obviously made friends and was like moved out with all my friends into an Airbnb. So this is like, 2 weeks into me being in France. And then the next big job was trying to get work on these private yachts. And like I was up against people who were like 24, 25. They've got like uni degrees and stuff and just like more employable in general. But I gave it a go. What you do is you create like a resume. I had like my boat license and like my jet ski license. That was like my big thing. So you create a resume and then you just go and walk up and down the docks in the south of France handing out your resume. So I'd print off like, hundreds of resumes and just walk along the dock. And if I saw someone on a boat, on like a super yacht, I'd try and get my resume onto it and pray and hope like hell that, that I got a job. Anyway, it took a long time. For those who know yachts, like I would put my resume onto like Dilbar, which is like the world's biggest yacht by kind of volume. What else? Oh, geez, I'm trying to remember the names. Eclipse, I think, was one of them. That was like the best looking yacht ever. Roman Abramovich's yacht at the time. I think I put a resume onto that one as well. And yeah, like it was a really good experience. None of them called me back, by the way. Like I didn't get work on any of those yachts. And yeah, like that, I suppose being rejected so much taught me a lot. I really learned a lot from being rejected so much. I'd be calling home to mum and dad being like, geez, I just cannot get work. Like I'm competing against people who are just so much older, more mature than me. And like, I've got no hope. Eventually I got to work on a sailing yacht. They gave me a call and this guy, the captain was South African and he called me and I had some South African friends at the time and he said, do you want a job? And I thought it was just like one of my friends who I'd made while I was over there was like prank calling me. And I was like, oh mate, bugger off. Like just leave me alone. So I almost blew the job, but I managed to get it in the end. And I did a couple of weeks on that boat. And I think it was like, the pay was like €100 a day. You've also got food and accommodation, obviously. So yeah, I kind of worked on boats maybe for 2 months. It wasn't 2 months of pure work. It was probably like a month and a half. I worked on another super yacht. I don't think I'm actually allowed to say the name because like it's all really confidential. But one of the credentials to get onto this super yacht was to not speak Russian because the owner was clearly like a Russian oligarch. So like they did full background checks on me, making sure I couldn't speak Russian, making sure I wasn't a bloody spy. And yeah, I worked on that yacht. I can't say I saw anything that exciting, to be honest. I just cleaned all day. So yeah, what do you do on a yacht? Like what do you, like they employ me, they pay me €100 a day to do what? And the answer to that is literally just clean. Like if it looks clean, clean it again. You're essentially like a glorified cleaner, especially like a deckhand, which I was. You're just like cleaning the same thing over and over again. But it's not that kind of mind numbing because you're in the bloody Mediterranean. It's like 25 degrees, you know, there's beautiful women around and you just sit there cleaning, just going, how good is life? So if you are looking, actually, I don't know what the yacht industry is like at the moment. It's probably cooked, but because of like Ukraine and Russia thing, because like they own so much of it and COVID. But yeah, if you're looking for a fun gap year, I would highly recommend looking into working on private yachts. Like it's a global business and it can take you all around the world. And like I met some incredible people. So yeah, I'd really recommend checking that out. It's a wild one. I think this is going well, guys. I think this podcast is going okay. It feels really weird for me to be talking this much. It feels like I'm waiting for Gab to step in. Like normally I'll just like kind of say a few things and let him speak, but he's not here right now. So we just got to manage. And if there is an awkward silence, please just put up with it. This is the learning process. So I'm probably going to watch back on this podcast one day and be like, oh my God, what is he doing? We've got a product plug, an NTF product plug, but please don't go anywhere because I'll try and make this as fun and as quick as possible because you know that we've got to keep a roof over our head. And in order to do so, we sell products. 9 to 5 Fitness sells programs. It sells, what does it sell? Oh, it sells apparel. The apparel right now is very relevant, especially the tracksuits. I would recommend jumping on the tracksuit game. They are some of the best tracksuits ever, honestly. Think like Nike Tech Fleece, but just like better in general. And then also like programs. I sell an athletic-based resistance program, which is just like kind of how I train in terms of footy and weight training. I want to be as explosive as possible, but also like fit and not a cube. And then Gab's got his former training, which is his power building program. I'm sure you've heard a whole lot about that. If you want to pick anything up, you can use code podcast. And I think that gives you 10% off, I'm pretty sure. So go and do that if you can, please. And thank you very much. Oh, also, if you've ordered something, I'm doing my best to send this stuff out as quick as I can. You guys are ordering so much that it's like, it's getting hard to keep up with it, but I'm doing my best to get them out as fast as possible, and I appreciate your patience. So thanks very much. Let's get into a question. We had a few questions sent in, and they're like videos or voice memos. This one is from Braith Good. Let me just get it up. Hang on one second. All right, I'll play it into the mic and then we'll answer it.
Louie and Gad, love the podcast, boys. Louie, as for the single ep that you're about to bring out, mate, I was just wondering if you've had any injuries from the gym or footy that have sat you out for a long time and the effects it had on your mental and physical health throughout.
Mate, thank you very much for sending that in. You're carrying the team here, to be honest, because I'm on my own. But what was it? It was injuries I've had from the gym or footy that have set me back and kind of the effect that's had on my mental. Honestly, I've been so lucky with injuries, especially when it comes to footy. I suppose I'm such an outside player that I don't get a whole lot of hardball, but like I've been playing senior footy for a few years now and have been so lucky with like not getting any head knocks. I remember like my second senior game, I was playing at Melbourne High, and I think the ball went over my head and I turned around to chase after it. Like I didn't go back with the flight. I just kind of followed the track of the ball. And then as I turned around, someone's shoulder just went straight through my head. And that like concussed me a little bit, but not enough to stop playing at the time. And then the siren went. The siren went, and I came back on after halftime. And I remember I was running around with like my mouth guard in my hand and still like holding the ball. So I'd like get the ball with the mouth guard in my right hand, be like kind of running around, holding the ball and like kicking it and stuff. And then I think I remember at that point being like, oh no, this actually isn't good. Like I couldn't quite recall what had happened. And then I recall I got really emotional. Like I was like almost tearing up just for like no reason whatsoever. But to be honest, it didn't affect me that much mentally. Like afterwards, I just, relaxed that night and kind of maybe a few headaches the next day, but nothing too bad. And then I'd say like the worst injury I've ever had was breaking my scaphoid. So my left wrist, I was riding my motorbike and my dog ran out in front of it and I grabbed the front brake and the front wheel, it was summer. So I was on grass and it just slid. Like I didn't go over the handlebars. It just like slid from underneath me and I just came down onto my wrist. And it didn't feel that sore at the time, but I remember thinking like, oh, it's not ideal. Kept riding my bike around, and then like it started seizing up maybe like 30 minutes later. And for those who know like what a scaphoid break is, it's just like, I think it's called like a navicular or something, where there's no blood flow through the bone. So it took 3 months to heal, and like I lost a fair bit of my gains, and like I couldn't do as much as I wanted to, and it was just like pretty. I think the ex broke up with me then as well, which wasn't ideal for the cause. But yeah, that one was like the most difficult injury I've ever had. And now anytime I hear someone's got like a sore wrist, or like, they fall on their wrist and they're holding it a little bit sore, I'm like, fuck mate, I hope that is not a scaphoid, because that was a really brutal injury that like honestly, I don't wish it on anyone. And not brutal for the pain, just brutal from the fact of like, you just have to leave it for so long. I think that was about a year ago. It was over a year ago, and I'm still like really kind of concerned with my wrist all the time. Like I really do protect it. But yeah, like through that process, I remember thinking like, oh, I'm just going to lose all my gains. And I did. I lost a lot of my gains. Like I turned into like just a funny looking fella. But mate, you get the gains back so quick. I reckon within 3 weeks, I was back pretty much like 90% back. And that's like a thing I get a lot is people messaging me saying, oh, hey mate, I just broke this, or I just pulled this. I'm going to be out of the gym for 8 weeks at least, and I can't train, or what should I do to keep the muscle? Mate, don't worry about the muscle. Like the muscle is going to come back so quick, and you are going to be so determined and so driven to build it that it's just like not going to be an issue whatsoever. So honestly, I wouldn't stress at all if you do break something. But mate, thank you so much for the question. Braith, I think Braith Good, I'm pretty sure is the name. Mate, thanks so much for the question. Yeah, I really appreciate you sending that in. We do have a few more to go. We've got a fair chunk to go, to be honest. So keep listening on. Got another question sent in here from Anonymous. He or she said, regrets from high school / teenage years. Would love to hear them. And this is actually like, I'd say this is one of the best questions we've had sent in, because it does take like a fair bit of reflection and understanding to like realize what you do actually regret. And like, I don't necessarily like regret a lot of this stuff, but it is stuff that's kind of really shaped me, and stuff that I think about now that I am older. I'm almost 24. And yeah, I was probably like, the answer to that is like, the question is like, what do I regret from school / teenage years? And the answer I would say is probably like the way I treated people. Like I wasn't a nasty kid necessarily, but I was a pretty lost kid, and not any more lost than people at my age. But I think I was lost with like a lot of surface confidence. And what that creates is someone who is very happy and open to speak their mind, which I was. Someone who is craving a laugh from people at anyone's expense. And that kind of had the ramification of it being at a lot of people's expense. So I'd say from like year 8 through to year 10, I do regret the way I treated people. Like, I probably didn't treat my sister that well. I probably didn't treat peers or people at my school that well, because I was lacking in confidence. And yeah, I mean, like there's not much you can do about it now other than just learn from it. And you couldn't have told me when I was in people did tell me when I was in year 8 through to year 10 that I was being a dickhead. Like people did tell me, but I was so like anti, like I wouldn't listen to anyone, and I just like would always think that I was the victim and that other people weren't. So yeah, I think that's like definitely what I regret the most. I don't have any kind of, like I don't regret fucking missing a kick in, A's footy or shit like that. Like that doesn't mean anything to me. Like it's definitely breaking relationships, or just like things I'd said to people, which, I don't want to say I was a bully, but like, I probably wasn't far off. So yeah, I'd say that's my biggest regret. Yeah, like school's like a treacherous time, I think. You've got like X amount of people, let's say 20 people in a classroom who are just like exploding in terms of like puberty and hormones. They don't want to learn a thing, and you've got a teacher there who has their own shit going on, and they've got to try and teach these kids who are exploding with hormones and don't want to listen. So I really struggled through school from an academic perspective. I think I hadn't been diagnosed with ADHD just because my parents were like, well, like there's not much point in getting him checked for it. Like if that's the case, then we're just going to have to keep persisting. And what else I have? I think I had auditory processing as well. So like, mate, I was in special ed like right up and through until I think like year 11. I don't actually remember it in year 12. I think they gave up on me, to be honest. Anyway, I was in special ed and I had like great, and that was just out of like, there's nothing to be kind of ashamed about, you know, like now that I'm older, like I couldn't care less. I remember at the time being really embarrassed by it, but if you are in special ed, like that's so fine. You'll find your way, like don't worry. But yeah, I think like I had some really good help through it, and I wouldn't have been able to get through school without the help I had in terms of brilliant teachers, in terms of amazing parents, and like, you know, a brilliant sister. So, and also friends. So yeah, but school was a real struggle for me, and trying to get through it was difficult, and I probably wasn't kind of the nicest person to the people around me, I suppose. But yeah, I hopefully that kind of sticks with someone, because I feel like on this podcast in the past we've talked a lot about, you know, like, you know, Gab and I own a business, and we, you know, like we do this, we do that. Gab's so good at uni, like I'm at uni as well. It's like, well, in actual fact, I really struggled. Gab didn't struggle at all; he was fine. But like, I really struggled through school, and there were definitely points where I was like, shit, man, I don't know what I'm gonna do. So yeah. Next up, we've got a Tomorrow Skincare plug. And now I love these guys. I love them so much. They are my favorite skincare brand ever by like a long shot. I just went to the Gold Coast. I packed them with me. I packed the Essentials collection. I know Gab packed his to go to America. And like, guys, that's 4 bottles. That's a fair bit of like space that you're taking up. But like, that shows how much we really appreciate it. And the Essentials kit, I feel like if you're going to do it, like do it properly. If you can afford it, get the Essentials collection. It's got the foam cleanser, it's got the liquid toner, the structure serum, and the gel moisturizer. All 4 of those are just elite. Like the foam cleanser, it comes out as a foam, obviously. Feels like it gets in and under all your pores. You feel incredibly clean after it. Then you get out of the shower, you hit it with a bit of liquid toner. I'm not dead sure exactly what it does, but it feels really good on your face. I think it like stops the discoloration. You know how you get red spots? I could be wrong there, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. The structure serum, look, it's got a texture of something a bit funny, but it's nice. Like that's what gives you the shine. I know, like I'd say in like when we do really big podcasts, like I'll always shave and then use all this like the skincare. And the reason I get a bit of a shine on my face is because of the structure serum. And then I let that dry and follow up with the gel moisturizer. All 4 are elite. If you had to get, let's say if you had to get 2 things, it's difficult. All right, I'll do, all right, let's say you had to get 2 things. I'm going to say you have to get the foam cleanser and the gel moisturizer. If you can get 3 things, I'd go foam cleanser, structure serum, and then gel moisturizer. But if you're getting 3, you may as well get all 4. And like, trust me, they're elite. So if you want to pick anything up from Tomorrow Skincare, use code NTF. That'll give you 20% off. Thanks so much. Next up, we've got Manscaped. The boys, the dudes, they've stuck with us, Manscaped. They've been a really good sponsor to us. Like they're just hassle-free. Like they just show up every week, try their hardest, you know, good clubman, I'd say. And they're going to be good clubmen for your balls as well. So that's something to think about. Like you want those kind of people on your team, and especially around your nuts. The Lawnmower 4.0, it's a cracker. It gets in and it does the trick. It's water resistant. They've got a new line out. They've got this body wash. A 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner, which we love as well. And then also the hydrating body spray, which all smells elite. Like Manscaped, I don't know how they've done it, but they've got this special smell and they've just capitalized on that smell. It is in every single one of their products, and it just like, it smells so good. Like no shit, but like it smells really bloody good. So I would recommend checking some of that out. And same thing is use code NTF, you get 20% off and free shipping. So thanks so much to Manscaped for that one. Right, next one. We've got Regan Crooks. This isn't an ad, by the way. This next one is a question. You're doing well, team, so keep sitting through. Biggest goal in life is what Regan Crooks says. Wait, he might have sent this in as a question, because I want you guys to hear his beautiful voice, because I want anyone who sent one in to make sure they play. Here we go.
Hey Louie, just in regards to your podcast thing, I guess, what is your biggest goal in life?
The podcast thing, mate. You are on the podcast thing, so congratulations. And great question. Thank you so much for sending that in, Regan. He's a very nice fellow. We were just exchanging messages. He was saying some very kind things to me, so thank you, mate. Biggest goal in life? I mean, you could put this into so many sections, like you could put it into like monetary or like economic, which I feel like a lot of people kind of go for. You could put it into like work goals, as in I want to reach this point. I want to be the CEO of a company. Kind of like a goal to help people, kind of a goal with relationships. But I think I'm going to put mine into relationships. I have a goal, which I have already achieved it to some extent, but like I want to continue that of just having like great people around me. And not only is that like my biggest goal in life, that's probably the thing I'm most proud of, is the individuals I have around me, obviously Gab, but also a lot of other people as well. Like forming these relationships is something that takes time, and it takes conversations, and it takes understanding who you are and who you don't actually need in your life. So I'd say that's what I'm most proud of, and that is my goal, to be able to have continued these relationships that are literally why, like it's what you live for, like having friends and family and stuff like that. That is like why you kind of live. That's why you go to work, is to have these fantastic relationships and enjoy them as well. So I'd say that's my biggest goal. Might not have been the answer you wanted to hear, mate. Sorry. I suppose like on a, more kind of like surface level, like, yeah, I want to like grow, especially this podcast, to a point that it's like, it's my full-time job. It's Gavin Meyer's full-time job. Like I want just to be like so self-sufficient on this podcast, and maybe doing media with Gab. Like I feel like that would be like a really good course for the two of us, like or a really good direction for the two of us. And then on top of that as well, I'd love to kind of build my own personal brand. Like I've got the Lewis Phillips TikTok, maybe develop that into, well, hopefully more followers, and kind of really trying to help young men, I think is a big one, because I feel like I get a lot of kind of reward out of that. I feel really good when I hear of people who have either taken my advice or just like heard from my story and put that into themselves and kind of developed into who they are today. So hopefully that answers your question, mate. But yeah, that's kind of it. I just kind of on that as well, like I get so many messages frequently, at least like weekly, often daily, about people who are, going through a breakup, or they're going through like some mental issues and stuff. And like, whilst I can definitely reminisce with the breakup thing, like I can't help a whole lot in terms of when people have like genuine mental health issues, but like I can show support and can be there. But mate, those messages, they mean the world to me. Like if you think that, like if you've heard these podcasts and you feel like you're close enough to me that you can reach out, which you definitely can, like that means my job is done. Like what I'm doing here is ticked, because like we've been able to talk on the podcast in a way that has allowed you to like feel like you're a mate, and that means a lot. So some of like the messages I get are often people explaining a situation and then asking for like advice, and often I cannot give advice. Obviously, like I'm not a professional. I'll do my best, but often it just comes back to being yourself. And I'll say it in a roundabout way, like in the message I reply to, but like in general, it's all the same in terms of like, you just need to be yourself, and you need to do kind of what's best for you. I feel like a lot of people who message me are always looking to kind of help like 10 different people, or trying to like appease so many different people that it just becomes like you're just shooting yourself in the foot. So generally that is my advice, but please feel free to message me, whatever. I'll do my best to get back to you. I'll always try to get back to you. Sometimes it may take over a week, but I'll do my best too. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Onwards, let's continue on. We've got a brimming mailbag. In fact, it's not that brimming. It's about 2 questions because we kind of went through a few others. But we'll keep going. Jasper Walsh says, biggest challenge you've had in regards to moving out and how you got over it. Another fantastic question. I'm trying to think. Biggest challenge I've had. I'd say it's probably like what is it? Just moving in with someone, like moving in with Gab, it was pretty seamless, to be honest, but fuck, it was a challenge at times. We're 2 different people and I've never lived with him before. And I think we mentioned on a podcast a while ago, like we went through a stage there where we were butting heads. Like we weren't happy with each other. And that was like definitely the biggest challenge. So kind of moving in with someone who I hadn't lived with before, and then also butting heads at the same time. And on top of that, running a business together, that's where things got pretty difficult. In this question, you said, and how you got over it. Well, communication, mate. And the best thing ever was that for that to happen, because now I couldn't see myself living with anyone else. Like I find it weird to be in a house with someone else other than Gab, if that makes sense. So it was the worst thing at the time, but now I'd say it's the best thing. And just on that, like moving out with Gab, I remember initially, so let's say first month. Oh, maybe not first month. So first month, often when you move out someone, especially first time you move out, it is like max honeymoon phase. Like shit, yeah, this shit is so exciting. I'm loving this so much. And then after that month, it kind of wears off a little bit. Like you're out of the honeymoon phase. It's like, yep, we've got to work now. And things that would rattle me, I actually don't know if I've told Gab this, but like he loves like walking around with headphones in, which is so fine. Like it's his house. And I'd be like, oh, hey, mate. And he just wouldn't reply. He either didn't hear me or he's like having quiet time. And like when I say like good morning to someone and they don't reply, I instantly think they just fucking hate me. I was like there'd be times where Gab just wouldn't reply. I was like, oh, here we go. Like that's the end. We're done. Like this kid hates me so much. Like I may as well pack my bags and move up to the farm right now. Mum, back the trailer up. We're going home. Obviously that wasn't the case. You let things simmer. And then you realize like, oh, you just had headphones in, or, you didn't want to talk at that time, or something like that, like you stop the anxious thoughts coming through your head and you get some clarity and you realize it's nothing. So how we got over the issue Gab and I had, like we had a point where we just fucking loathed each other. How do we get over it? Well, yeah, communication. Like talking to each other, like just like being there for one another, going back to what we were, which was best mates, and trying to take business out of it, trying to take all this external shit out of it, and just like being fucking mates. It's pretty easy, isn't it? And then like, yeah, just like speaking up when you don't feel something, like speaking up when like Gab wigs out if I leave rice out on the table. And I'd never intentionally leave rice out on the table. I promise you, I would never do that to piss him off. But sometimes I just forget and he has to like muster up the courage, and I can see it in his eyes because like it completely goes over my head. But I can see when he's asking me that he's, thought about it all morning to ask me and be like, mate, you can't be leaving rice out like that. And I go, oh yeah, sorry mate. And then I know, at least for the next month, to don't leave rice out and wipe the table after I've eaten. And now like our living space is just so, like it's so nice. It's so good. I'm like so content living together. Like I know his routine, he knows mine. And yeah, like it's a good time to be alive. That is for sure. Thank you so much for the question, Jasper Walsh. Onwards, let's go to the next one. This is the final question, by the way, so thank you guys so much for sticking through with me if you've made it this far. What to do after year 12, brackets, not uni. That was from Aidan Kuss, I think. Mate, thank you for the question. It's a good question. I think it's pretty relevant right now. A lot of people, coming to the pointy end of year 12, work your ass off, I'd say, in year 12, but if you don't get the score you want, then it is what it is, mate. No, it's not the end of the world. We had Kados on the podcast last week, and he said, I didn't actually realize you could just work like a normal job. It's so true. I didn't realize that either. Honestly, I forgot you can just literally go and work like detailing cars, or like, maybe that's not a good example, like working at Subway or like at the news agency. Now, to be honest, that's probably not going to afford you the life that you kind of had planned. But if you like, you know, just want like a life which doesn't require a huge income, then mate, that's perfect. The other thing is like people over achieving, I suppose, at work and over committing at their job. Like, let's normalize just going to work to make money, not being overly passionate about it. You can have a marketing job, rock up to work, you know, from 9 to 5. Don't work a second over. Just do what you have to and then get out of there. And like, you don't have to want to go up. You don't have to want to go down. You don't have to be the next manager. You can just sit where you are. Let's say you're on a salary of 70 grand a year and just sit at that. If you want to do that, that is so fine. Like that's okay. In saying that, I think there is huge value in doing some form of tertiary education after school. Doing something after school, like those are kind of the next steps, and those are like, it's like a real building platform. I'll tell you a story. I used to work at Maserati as a car salesman, or as like almost did a cadetship with Maserati, but I chose to go to uni instead in the end. But I was doing some like work with them, and I was talking to one of the head car salesmen there, and he was killing it. And I was weighing up. I said to him, mate, I'm weighing up between uni or do I do this cadetship? And he said, mate, get the fuck out of here. Go and do uni and then come back to the cars. Like, although you've got a degree, it's so much more than just a degree. Like, you learn things as you go. And that's so true. Like, it's bang on. So I'd say some form of tertiary education. You said here, like, not uni. Well, like, maybe think about TAFE, or think about traveling, or go and work externally. Adolfo Tex, remember, he was on the podcast a long time ago, one of the early ones, and he was a digital nomad. Mate, what a life. He just travels the world. I'm not sure exactly how he makes money, through social media, obviously, but living the life, the big fella. There are so many options, and I feel like this is a big one if you live in like a small country town. Mate, get out of there. Get out of that. That's the best thing you can do if you live in a small country town. The world is bigger than fucking Puckapunyal. I promise you that much. Get out and have a look around. You can, if you live in a small country town, move to Melbourne. If you live in Melbourne, you know, move to bloody America or whatever. Just get out and see the world, and I think it puts things into perspective. So yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. If you enjoyed this, like I suppose I'll do another one next week. I'm feeling a lot more comfortable now that I'm talking. I felt like a stunned mullet at the start, if I'm honest. It's been one take, which is good, but next week I think it'll be even better. So if you could keep sending in topics, things you want to hear about, like send them to my personal Instagram, because trust me, 9 to 5 gets so many DMs that like it's a struggle to get through them all. And we do our best to, but we can't always. So send them to my personal Instagram, LewisPhillips12. You know where to find it. But thank you guys so much for listening. I love you so much. See ya.